You're very welcome back. You're watching the Daily Rundown with me, Fiona Fox, Ian Pattinson and Drew Tosh join me on the couch this evening, help me through the stories. Now, unions and charities have come out to say that plans to scrap bursaries for student nurses and other NHS staff in England are reckless. Ministers plan to overhaul the system in September 2017 and charge those studying to be frontline health workers for their degrees. But in a letter to the Prime Minister, more than 20 groups led by the Royal College of Nursing said it could put people off working for the NHS. The government said the changes would create 10,000 more training places. Currently, student nurses and midwives are entitled to bursaries of £4,500 to £5,500. That's on top of a grant of £1,000 each year during their training. Now, I wasn't actually aware of all these kind of statistics. How do you feel about this? Like, do you think should student nurses just have to pay for the degrees like everyone else?
I would say kind of yes.
You feel yes?
I don't want to, because I'm such a big supporter of the fact that they get such a bad deal with all, obviously the stories with the junior doctors and the strikes and stuff. I mean, they are sort of ploughing an uphill battle in a lot of ways, but there are lots of other people who do very important work or could go on to important work that have to pay every penny of their degree and stuff. So yeah, I'm like you, I didn't actually know that they did get this extra incentive. And
it's interesting, isn't it though? I mean, like, it is a good incentive, but having said that, there's a massive shortage of nurses.
Yeah, so it's not working anyway, is
exactly. So is this going to put a further strain on the NHS down the line?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
I think that fees should be abolished completely for higher education.
Right.
I think we should go back to proper grants and having fees paid by the country, and because that pays back into the economy far better than the current system, which basically just nobbles the poorer students who are going through, and they have to pay it all back. We should go back to paying the fees completely. If the government wants more nurses, they should have the guts to say we're going to have to pay for it.
Right, and there is that is another side. I mean, students are coming out of university just already crippled with debts, aren't they? Like, hanging over their heads. So I mean, obviously that would be a fantastic move. Probably not going to happen in the...
It's not, but it should.
I was going to say in the distant future, unfortunately, but...
I failed I failed my university degree, but luckily I was one of the last years of students to go through with my fees paid and the grant.
Wow.
So I came out with a very small debt,
right.
relative to what people come out with now.
Yeah.
I came out with a few hundred, maybe a couple of £1,000 debt at most, and I worked that off within a year and a bit, because I had my grant, my fees paid, fees paid, and I got a grant. Now, my grandfather was a miner, and on one side, and my grandfather on the other side was a self-employed builder. It's basically because of grants and having fees paid that my parents actually made it into the middle class.
Right.
And that's how it should be, and this is what's been taken away since the middle of the 90s. It's basically a scheme that helped the poorest particularly has slowly been chipped away and destroyed. Mm. And if you want the full power of the intellect of the country and everyone to live up to their potential, then you need to help them. You need to fund them if they need funding.
Yeah. Now with the nurses, I mean, I agree with all that, but I mean, obviously with the nurses, I suppose they trying to encourage them. Like we said, we've had a massive lacking of nurses at the moment. Do you think we're going to see this is going to add to nurses leaving this country? They're going to head off to Dubai or somewhere where they get a nice tax-free salary.
Well, it's already happening, isn't it?
Well, it is already happening.
Are we
going to be left with literally nothing?
We're taking nurses from poorer countries who are therefore losing out on healthcare, and we're losing homegrown nurses to other countries because they pay better, or they're just not as horrible to the workers. Dubai may not be all that great all round, but it's not the way to do it. Actually paying people to do these vitally important jobs is the way it should be. And if they need paying to get through their courses, then so be it. And one of the articles I read pointed out that an awful lot of your nursing degree is spent on the wards. So you're working.
Yeah.
And if you're paying to work, then that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong in so many ways.
I think that was one of the points that they highlighted, actually, that specific idea that you are actually paying to work, which is obviously ridiculous. Well, I don't know, what do you think about it, Drew? Like, I mean...
I don't know, I just, like I say, I'm loath to go against anything to do with the medical profession because they get such a rough time, but I don't think it's specific enough to warrant that profession getting this extra.
Are you surprised that we're actually seeing kind of people go after the NHS, or see the government go after the NHS again, even in the light of you?
It never stops, does it?
No.
Every time there's always something
Constantly.
happening, something chipping away at some money here or some funding there or some grant there. It never ends.
It's at the core of their beliefs, this particular government. It's at the core of their
Yeah,
beliefs.
they really don't care about anything to do with this job because, well, they probably don't have to. I can't imagine any of them have ever spent a night in an NHS ward in their life and probably will never have to.
Do you think what about the overall agenda? Because I've had a few people in here saying that this is the threat to the NHS. Is
slowly
behind.
privatise it and then take it away from us.
Is that how you
That's what it looks like.
Direction?
They're cutting the budgets and then going, look, the hospitals are inefficient because they're running up debts. They're running up debts, which are pretty much the same as the amount that their budgets have been cut by. It's strange how that happens.
Simple maths, go away. We can all go away and work that out, can't we? But we will leave it at that one. Thank you very much for that, guys. Because we're dying to get onto this next story, aren't we, Drew?
Yes, because it's good news. It's
because
good
it's
news.
good news for once, yes. Pop star Rick Astley has returned to the top of the UK album chart after a gap of 29 years. The singer's comeback album is called 50. It beat new releases by Tom Odell and Paul McCartney to reach number 1. He was recently in Manchester, and we have a little footage of what he got up to. Love this.
Just stay where you are. Just stay where you are.
That was footage of Rick Astley letting somebody touch his bum to raise £50 for Maggie's Cancer Care Centre. So a very, very good cause. A very sort of random charity event, or a part of a charity event, is it though? Who came up with that idea?
A sponsored bum fondle.
I wondered if that's why it's called 50, his album, though. It seems like
that's his age.
A coincidence. Oh, is that what it is? So, Rick, are you a Rick Astley fan, Drew? I know you're a pop music fan.
I'm sort of indifferent, but I like Survivors. I'm a big fan of people who... It's because that's not an easy business. When you've had success once and it's sort of petered away, it's very hard to get back up there again. So I think sort of artists who last the pace, even if they have dips and they have highs and lows and stuff, but to be able to do that, I think takes a real kind of courage and real sort of like...
And his voice sounds fabulous, doesn't it?
His voice
sounds the exact same.
is as good as it ever was. I think it's richer and deeper now because he's older. Because he was kind of like a throwaway pop star before. Because
he was a T-boy, wasn't he?
He was. It was Stock Aitken was T-boy, but I think it was the fact that music was very throwaway.
That's the legend. That's the legend, was that he was the T-boy.
That's what they sold.
And they took him in one day and said, "Here, just sing this."
You're joking. I mean, he wasn't hanging around for no. I mean, he got in there as a T-boy with ideas about himself, didn't he? Obviously, I presume.
Well, he could sing. I think that's the main thing. He can still
sing. I
just
happened to have a little sing-song with a tree trolley as I passed.
You get the impression in those days that if anybody walked into that studio and they could hum a tune and they looked okay, they'd get a single out or something.
Yeah.
But he had a lot. I think clearly he had a lot more depth than that. And I think that's probably why.
You know the worst thing about this entire
long
story?
gap.
Sorry, Drew, but you know the worst thing about this entire story? How the 29 years? Why do I remember it? Before we came in, I was telling you this, wasn't it? Before we came in, it was just myself, our producer Emmy, our station manager, our technical director James, and we're sitting there, and I realised I was the only person who was alive last time that album was on.
They're only 12 now. The whiff of clear is still out there. It's very detectable.
29 years.
And yet, they know that song. They still know, and they know the song.
Everyone knows about Rick rolling.
It's the Rick rolling effect.
Everyone knows about Rick rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, where did that even, what was the first one? Where did that start?
Don't know. I think it was.
And why does it become a thing? How do these things?
It was some kind of hacking.
Click this link, and you went to the YouTube video of Rick Astley singing "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Is that not a form of hacking?
It's not hacking. It's more trolling.
Misleading.
It's more
trolling. It's basically seeing how gullible people are to follow a link. It's
That happened to me quite a few times before I actually started reading the links before I clicked on them. Though.
Yeah.
There's a few of those ones around. That is the
There's
least sinister
there's a
of them
really
all.
good mashup of Never Gonna Give You Up with Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Really?
Really, really good.
There's an even better
mashup on YouTube.
with Destiny's Child, Bootylicious and Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Wow.
That is,
Don't think I've seen that one.
That is very good. But like, the top 5 albums, there's Paul McCartney, ELO are back in there, and
Yeah.
so you know, the oldies, the sort of the more
Strange, isn't it?
long-lasting acts always come back. Now and
Nostalgia.
again.
It's basically it's older folk can afford to buy the albums that they
ELO,
lost when they were younger.
They're playing Glastonbury. They're sort of
But, yeah.
the Sunday afternoon. I was going to say the OAP act. That's not what I meant. But so
Not far off.
So they're preempting it.
The legend stage or
they're
something.
preempting that, so the albums, the greatest hits albums, going shooting back up the charts again. People are getting sort of prepared in
It's
advance.
brilliant to see, though. I mean,
It's
because the
great.
thing is, that's a whole new audience for them as well.
Music's
because Glastonbury's
music.
full of young things.
Yeah, I hate
young
music
people.
snobbery. I think it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if it is, music that has withstood the test of time. I didn't necessarily think Rick Astley was going to do it, but here we are.
No, I didn't either.
And he's out with some new stuff. It's not like it is actually a
I think
revival.
someone new,
so.
he's written it all as well. I
Yeah,
think.
so it's good. We'll be going home to download that tonight, all of us, won't we? You can put it on my next CD, Drew.
Fair enough.
Thanks very much, guys. That's all we have time for in that part of the show. We'll be back in just a few minutes with a very special interview. Don't go anywhere.